Morning, fantastic beasties. Greetings from Santa Monica, California. Long story. This is Allie adjusting to the time zone of my youth, Ross, and this was my pull for yesterday, October 29th. 2019. I'm going to be recording today's video right after I finish up here and posting it later today. So tomorrow we'll be right back on track. This is going to be a vulnerable one, probably kind of a longer one. The reason I am in California is because it's where I grew up. It's where a lot of my biological family still lives, and my grandmother is in critical condition in the hospital. So Monday night of this week, right after I sent you all Monday's video, I got a text from my family, and it became clear pretty quickly that I needed to be here. So hopped on a plane about 5 hours later, and I'm now broadcasting to you from the absolutely delightful Santa Monica hostel. It's very close to the beach. I'm probably going to say hello to my dear friend, the Pacific Ocean, before I go back to the hospital this morning. So this is the spread that I drew on the plane on the way to be here with my grandmother yesterday. This is my paternal grandmother. One of the things that's complicated about being here is that I have a zero contact kind of relationship with her son, my dad, but she is just an incredible bright light of a person, and I still feel really close to her, even though, because of Alzheimer's being what Alzheimer's is, she hasn't necessarily, it's hard to tell, but I don't think she's known who I am for a pretty long time now. I drew these cards on the plane, and they were her in a way that is very comforting and hard and undeniable. So when I drew these cards for situation at hand, I pulled the King of Pentacles. Obstacle is the Ten of Pentacles. You may recognize this guy from an obstacle last week as well. I'll be addressing that. And here, finally, for advice, we have the Four of Pentacles. I have a lot of feelings about the King of Pentacles coming up while I was on a plane on the way to be with Grandma in the hospital, because the more I think about it, the more this woman is the King of Pentacles. Bow the fuck down. And don't tell her I said fuck. Michelle T, Modern Tarot, on the King of Pentacles, she compares the King of Pentacles to Jay-Z, and specifically to the lyric, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman." I have Modern Tarot on Kindle now because I've been traveling so much that it has become essential, which is kind of a lovely thing in some ways, even though the circumstances of this travel are less than ideal. So here's what Michelle T says about this particular monarch. This king has worked for it all and has become an authority on what it takes to rise to the top. The king is not afraid to claim all the power and all the knowledge because he knows that he's earned it. He's not lording it over anyone else, not really. He's just jubilantly accepting his mega fortunate destiny. This king likes the best things life has to offer and doesn't sweat laying out cash for it. They're also in the position to be very generous. That's my grandma. That's my grandma Lois to a T. She went to Radcliffe for business school. That was Harvard before Harvard was letting the ladies in. And she became this kick-ass realtor in Los Angeles, which is not the easiest place in the world to be a fucking badass realtor who has just made this entire amazing career for herself. She loved her work. She never officially did retire. She eventually just had to turn things over to other people with some supportive family members who were taking care of her by that point. And she, I know that some of her desire to make it big came from need. The cycle of abuse in our family, who's to know where it starts, but the starting point that I'm aware of is my grandfather, her husband, who was real bad by all accounts. I know that my grandmother, being who she is, has hidden a lot of the worst of it from us. But she was in a position where I particularly love the King of Pentacles coming up for her, because one thing we've always said about Grandma is that she was the dad in my father's family. She was the dad, and her mother-in-law was the mom, and grandfather kind of didn't do anything, and we don't need to get into that. But she's the king. She was the king of that household, and she is the king of her own world. And she, wow, the generosity piece, she gave like it was breathing. That word jubilantly accepting fortune. She did everything with so much joy. She's the kind of person who, even right now when she's in a hospital bed, she responds to music, to, and before, it was all things lovely, all things to be enjoyed in life. She just has always so visibly, fully enjoyed them. And one of the things that she very evidently has taken the most pleasure in is being in a position where she can pay for dinner for the whole family, partners included, whether she's ever met them before or not. When we were little, if we wanted something for Christmas that was outside of our parents' budget, we always knew that we would still get it if we put it on our Christmas list, because Grandma would make sure that we did. She knew everyone's favorite food and made sure that it was on the table at their birthday. And one morning when I had a sleepover with her, sleepovers with her were the best because I got to wear her lacy nightgowns and make pancakes with her in the morning. One time it occurred to me to ask her, Grandma, what's your favorite food? And she said, oh, I don't know. Sometimes I wake up and think I'll make some scrambled eggs, and other times I think pancakes today would just be divine. And it turned into a beautiful little morning poem about how she didn't have one favorite thing, but she sure knew what everyone else's favorite thing was. She worked her way to the top, and she loved the career it gave her, and she loved what it enabled her to do for other people, and I love her for that, and think of her as one of my royal figures for that, and for many other things too. Obstacle, Ten of Pentacles. This is the same obstacle that came up for me last week when I was in Chicago and having a great time with my long distance partner, but missing my domestic partner. Ten of Pentacles is that card where you have stability, financial and otherwise. You're comfortable. Things are just good. And you don't want it to end. And tens in tarot are the end of a cycle. I don't know what's going to happen in the next few days, but one way or another, Grandma is nearing the end of a cycle. And it's beautiful that it's such a high note to be wrapping up on. It's still very hard and sad. The Four of Pentacles is about letting go of scarcity mindset, and I think it's appearing to me in this situation because it's important for me to focus as I say goodbye to my grandmother on this amazing life she lived and this wonderful relationship I got to have with her and will still have with her no matter what, no matter where we both are. I'm gonna get ready to go back to the hospital and hold her hand because she doesn't recognize me, but she seems to know when I'm holding her hand. I love you all.